2 years ago, my best friend, Maggie, vanished. One night, she was out with friends celebrating finals being done, laughing, living, just a college kid letting off steam. And the next morning, gone. She was driving home to visit her parents for the weekend. Her car was found empty on a remote highway just outside of Meridian, Idaho, miles from town. The police combed the area, but their conclusion was maddening. She'd been drinking with friends. We know that much. Something happened on the road. She stopped, went looking for help, and probably ended up succumbing to nature. Maggie probably had a drink or two after finishing final, but no way she was drunk driving, if that's what they were insinuating. That wasn't Maggie. Then one of the idiots even suggested she'd just taken off, like she'd decided on a whim to leave her life behind. But I knew Maggie. I knew she would never just disappear. I knew something had happened to her. Something dark. The police haven't made any progress and consider Maggie's case cold. I feel terrible for her and her family. Every time I pressed the police, I'd get the same tired answer. These things happen sometimes. I knew better. Maggie didn't just wander off, and neither did the two other college kids who'd vanished over the past 5 years after nights of partying, found only by their abandoned cars along these lonely mountain roads. Someone was out there, lurking, and if no one else was going to do anything about it, then I would. Or I guess I'd try my best. When my grandma passed away earlier this year, she left me an inheritance. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to change my life. Enough that I could take a break from work. Enough that I didn't have to worry about paying rent for a while. Enough to make a difference. I could have put it toward something practical, something responsible. But what good would that do when my best friend was still missing and the police weren't even trying? There was no better way to spend it than to find Maggie's killer. So, I put the money to use. I bought 5 used cars at a local auction, all different models, different colors, all registered with different plates. I outfitted each with a dash cam on the front and back, and made each car as inconspicuous as possible. My goal was simple: make myself look like a random college kid on the road each night, and hope that I could draw him out. I'd change my appearance too: wigs, hats, glasses. I needed to blend in. I needed to look like an easy target. For months, I drove that damned mountain road. I mapped out a pattern from all the disappearances I could track, finding the routes where people had vanished while driving them alone in the dead of night. 5 nights a week, I was there, just waiting for him to follow me. I imagined what I would do when I caught him, how I'd turn the tables and make him face the consequences once I got him on camera. But tonight, as I sat on the edge of the lonely highway at 3 a.m., waiting in the black Toyota Camry I'd picked up, all I felt was exhaustion. The kind of tired that sits behind your eyes and digs in. Too many nightmares. Too many nights lying awake, feeling the weight of everything pressing in. Part of me thought about skipping it tonight, but I couldn't. I couldn't risk missing it. I climbed into the car, threw a thermos of coffee onto the passenger seat, and set off. The road was empty, silent. The only sounds were the hum of the engine and the occasional rustle of branches in the breeze. I followed my usual route, the same one Maggie would have taken home that last night. For the first hour, there was nothing. Just empty darkness stretching ahead and behind. But then, just as I was about to turn back, I noticed headlights in the rearview mirror. My pulse raced. Cars sometimes popped up on this road, but not often. And this one felt wrong. I tried to ignore the sense of dread building in my chest, telling myself it was just another driver, but my instincts wouldn't let it go. The car was too close, its headlights glaring in my mirrors, keeping an unnerving distance. I slowed down, just a little, just to see. The car behind me slowed too, matching my pace perfectly. A chill crawled up my spine, but I kept my expression calm, my hand steady on the wheel. This was it. This had to be it. I eased off the gas, letting my speed drop even further, almost to a crawl. If they wanted to pass, they'd have their chance. But they didn't. They stayed right behind me, hanging back just far enough that I couldn't make out the make or model of the car. The seconds dragged on, my heart beat loud in my ears. I told myself to reach for my phone, to start recording from my POV as well, but my hands were frozen. I was too scared. I kept my eyes on the road, feeling my pulse thundering in my temples. And then, just as suddenly as they'd appeared, the headlights veered off onto a side road, disappearing into the trees. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding, feeling the tension drain from my body. Relief washed over me, followed by a sickening disappointment. Maybe it wasn't him. Maybe I was just scaring myself. I pulled over at a small turnout, resting my forehead against the steering wheel, my eyes stinging with exhaustion. My mind raced with doubts, questions, anger. What if I was wasting my time? What if Maggie was truly lost to something I could never find? The world was silent, pressing in on me, but I forced myself to take a deep breath and close my eyes, just for a moment. I thought I'd rest for a few minutes, clear my head. Then the sound of gravel crunching snapped me awake. I looked up, heart pounding, to see headlights creeping up behind me. My blood ran cold as I recognized the car. It was the same one, back again. They'd been watching, waiting. I felt a surge of fear and anger as the driver's door opened and a figure stepped out, a tall, stocky man in a white shirt. He didn't hesitate. He was sprinting toward me, his steps heavy and determined. Panic took over, and I fumbled with the keys, my fingers trembling as I jammed them into the ignition. The engine roared to life, and I slammed on the gas, the tires spinning on the gravel before gripping. I shot forward, the headlights disappearing behind me as I sped down the road. In the rearview mirror, I saw him standing there, his face twisted in anger or disappointment. I couldn't tell which, but I'd seen that look before, on other men, other nights. The look of a predator who had just lost his prey. My hands were shaking as I drove, adrenaline flooding my veins, my mind a whirlwind of fear and fury. I'd been so certain I was in control, that I could outsmart him. But in that moment, I realized how wrong I'd been. I'd been playing with fire, and it almost consumed me. I kept driving, my eyes darting to the rearview mirror every few seconds, half expecting to see those headlights reappear. But the road remained empty, stretching out ahead of me like an endless, dark tunnel. It was only when I reached the lights of Meridian that I finally pulled over, my entire body shaking as I gripped the wheel. I sat there in silence, staring into the darkness. I still didn't have the answers I wanted, but I felt like I was closer to finding the truth about what happened to Maggie. One thing was abundantly clear, he was still out there, waiting for someone else to stumble onto that road, another college kid, just like Maggie. Honestly, I'm a little overwhelmed tonight. I'm going to go get the USB memory cards from my dash cameras in the morning. I'm not ready to look at what's on them yet. I know once I do, there's no going back. Life was tough as a kid. I grew up in a small town down south. It was a one-stop-light, one-store kind of deal. My daddy hated it, always said he wanted to leave. Came home drinking more often than not, kicked me and my mama around a bit. Finally she'd had enough, and got the cops to come chase him out of town. The officers drove in from the next district over. That's how small the town was. Mama said things would be different after she kicked daddy out, calling him a no-good drinking and swearing son of a bitch. She swore on the stupid gold tooth he had that she'd never let him back in the house. She promised me that she'd pick up a few extra shifts at the diner and that there would be no more lousy man threatening to tan my hide every time I wandered too far into the woods alone. I didn't believe a word she said until she brought home the dog, a scruffy-looking brown and yellow thing that scratched itself more often than it breathed. He was big and energetic, with paws that splayed out like maple leaves. She said it could keep me company while she was working, rather than me just watching TV all day. I said sure thing and called him Rowdy. Rowdy might have been a mutt, but he was a quick learner. It only took 2 Sundays alone together for him to learn sit, and after 2 more I had him fetching. It was fun, finding sticks and tossing them into the woods. He'd always come back, panting and wagging. I loved him for it. Still, the house was awfully quiet without Daddy around. There's only so much the whining of a dog can do to replace the slugger and a champ, let alone a good tan your hide. A dog can't even pass you a pigskin on its good days. It didn't take long before I started to push him, trying to see how far I could throw and still have Rowdy trot to me. It was a natural progression. He'd always come back, and so a part of me figured he always would. I stopped looking after a while, just wandering through the woods and throwing sticks. I'd lose track of time, and more than once was only brought back by the yelling of my mama at night, and then everything really did change. We'd wandered a little too deep. I was throwing a little too far. I was sitting on a stump, real mad at the kids from school who'd called me no daddy, and was imagining punching their stupid fat faces when I realized that Rowdy hadn't come back. He always came back. I found him on the side of the service road, the red puddle at the corner of his mouth still sticky but his eyes long gone. His legs were still splayed out like he was running, trying to get back to me. The stick was still in his mouth. I buried Rowdy under a pile of rocks by the creek and cried until Mama got home. I think she must have known, because the first thing she did after hugging me was start calling up the local shelters, looking for another mutt we could pick up to be just like Rowdy. Knowing wasn't the same as understanding, though, because I didn't want another mutt to take his place. I wanted him back. Around the same time the TV stopped working, and no grown-ups around the house left it silent as a cell. Maddening, too, cause we hadn't had money to buy me anything new for Christmas, and I didn't feel like playing with my child's set of army men. I started picking the house apart from sheer boredom, opening every nook and cranny for no other reason than to fill the silence with the creaking of rusty hinges. I found it in a trunk with some other stuff from a second uncle, the one that didn't come to the family gatherings anymore. It was bound in squishy leather and felt heavier than anything made of paper should. I flipped through the first few pages and immediately knew I'd hit the jackpot. The book told me the exact steps to take, what I'd need to go through with the spell. I snagged a couple of the extra candles from the church building and got as close as I could to lavender while picking plants out in the woods. I practiced drawing the signs over and over in the dirt so I wouldn't mess it up when the time came. I knew I didn't have much time. Buried dogs don't keep long when all has been arranged. Merely prick your finger. A drop of vital ichor is enough to complete the spell, and the spirit of the one you desire most shall be returned to the cadaver. I took my Swiss Army knife and speared a drop of blood across his forehead, tracing around the places where the skin was starting to split and ooze. I said a quick prayer that Rowdy wouldn't mind the worms in him, then I waited, sitting with my dead dog across my knees in a circle in the dirt. I waited for minutes, then hours, until the sun went down and my mama started to call my name again from the back porch. Rowdy never moved, but I figured his spirit must have been real far away. That, or the book was bunk in the end. I got my answer at midnight. I don't know what woke me, the wheezing too strained to be the wind or the dripping too slow and sticky to be the rain. Perhaps it was the stench of dead animal and maggot, perhaps it was the feeling of eyes on your back. The red glow of the electric clock painted a messy painting, 6 foot tall in my doorway. The spine bent unnaturally, pulling chunks of dirty bone and ligament from skin that didn't fit quite right, like a second-hand coat. Its paws dangled at its rotting flanks, spindly white finger flesh pushing through the matted fur and claws. In one hand it held a waitress apron, covered in liquid too dark to make out. It reeked like spoiled meat in the fridge, rocking gently with each tortured inhale. The cracks in its body tricked out dark liquid that pooled on the carpet. It had a long, canine skull balanced atop its crooked neck. 2 eyes leaked from their pits within the bone, sunken and reflective. I'd seen coyote eyes before at the edges of the porch light, but this was different. Coyotes didn't stare back in quite the same way. They didn't hate you like those 2 eyes did. It let out a noise, maybe a growl or maybe a whine or maybe a scream. It jerked to life, trashing towards me and dropping grisly bits of Rowdy to the floor in a storm of wet smacks. It reached out a hand, dripping muscle-tearing dog skin out of the way to wrap its long fingers around my neck. It wheezed again, pop balloon chest forcing air through its throat at a cry of rage. Its breath was like the smell of infected cuts, clogging my nostrils as I gasped for air. It began to squeeze. I stared down its maw, a bulging tube of pus and bulging teeth. They weren't all sharp canines. A lot of them looked human. I put all my strength into the kick, maybe for myself, maybe for Rowdy and what this thing had done to him. My foot crunched through ribs into a warm sludge. Mashing the soft bits inside, it screamed, falling backwards and retching. Its mouth opened, spewing out liquid and little bits of itself, then larger pieces. Lungs, guts, bones. It wheezed, screamed, wailed, whatever you want to call it, but this time it was different. It wasn't all angry, more afraid. More like a dog taking its last breaths on the side of the road. I took my chance and ran. I did look back, once, just as I sprinted through the door and out into the woods. It stood in the pile of flesh that was within it, hunched so low I could almost believe it was an animal. Its shoulder blades pushed through the skin of its back like wings as it rooted through the puddle beneath it. It was too dark to see, but I swear to you I saw, as I ran from that house for the last time ever, the glimmer of a golden tooth in its hand. They ruled what happened to my mama a suicide, and I got tossed into foster care. I got lucky a few times, met some good folk. I live far, far away now, with a new family and good job. We even have a new dog, but every night, I make sure each and every one of the doors in my house is locked. I clean the piston in my dresser weekly, and sleep with it loaded. I never let the kids play at night without me there. To this day, I've never heard anything from my dad, but sometimes, when the night is dark and the lights of the house are bright enough, I swear I can see those eyes reflecting back at me.